Hello, my name is Sam. Welcome to my channel. Before we get started on this case, I'd like to give a quick disclaimer. I understand that true crime videos are controversial because it can be seen as disrespectful to make videos on someone's brutal murder and life for views and monetary gain. I do my best to be respectful and serious, and I see how that comes across negatively. I reached out to Emma, Nyssa's daughter, and got her permission before continuing. And she made it clear that her mom wants this story out there and wants people to know what happened. And that's what I aim to do. Alexandria was incredibly young at the time of her passing, and Nyssa was also young at the time of her and Don's abuse. And seeing this crime, I understand that it is not something that you want to hear about. Take a break, take care of yourself, have an enjoyable day, and I will see you a different time. Hello and welcome. Today we are making tiramisu. And before we get started, I would like to preface I have never had tiramisu nor have I ever made it. So if you see anything wrong in this video, I deeply apologize. It is an Italian dish, so if you are Italian, I beg for mercy. Please. That being said, it is Nyssa Corbin's favorite dessert. I've been told by her daughter Emma, so this is sort of a tribute to her, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. Today we are talking about the story of Roxanne Suleski and her stepdaughter Alexandria Christine Suleski. Roxanne was born Roxanne Nahara. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. And she had a boyfriend named Benny Bruno, and they got pregnant when Roxanne was 17 years old and gave birth to their daughter Nyssa, who is the main person in this story. Nyssa said in her book, and I highly recommend that you guys read it. It is called Dark Secret. It is available on Amazon. I read it through Kindle. It is an amazing read, and she includes some of the court documents at the end of the book. So if you would like more information for your own research, please go and read it. Like I said, it's amazing. But she says in the book that her mom wanted her to have a place on her birth certificate that she would be proud of. So when she went into labor, she forced the dad to drive out of the way to go to a hospital in Beverly Hills, just so that that would be the place of birth on Nissa's birth certificate. So just to give you a bit of a gist of what type of person Roxanne was very early on. Nissa discusses she and her mom's relationship throughout the book. It's rocky, but they're close. And you see that in many incidences where Roxanne is not the type of mom I think any of us would want to be, but she and her daughter have this interesting relationship where they are close in their own kind of way. And that's pretty evident with most cases of abuse. For example, Benny settled down with a different woman named Jay. And one of her first encounters with Jay, her father Benny was sick, and Jay told Nissa that she was old enough to do the dishes. Um, and so she forced her to go into the kitchen and wash the dishes instead of her father washing them. And that was one of her first encounters with Jay. She barely knows this woman barely knows her, and she's already telling her what to do in her father's home, which didn't really settle down with Jay. Which didn't really settle down with Nissa, I mean. Jay, Benny, Nissa, and Jay's two children all move into a home together, and it's chaos from the get go. You see very early on, Jay is abusive towards her children, mainly using a belt when they get in trouble. The first time that this belt is used, well, the first and only time, but there's a time where she uses the belt on Nissa. She asks her to go get socks from in her drawer in her bedroom, and Nissa comes back and tells her that she cannot find the socks. And she sends her out again, telling her, hey, I just washed socks. There's no way that there aren't socks in that drawer. I just did laundry. And Nissa's telling her, I promise you, I do not see them, which is pretty common with most kids. Um, I mean, I can't tell you how many times my mom has sent me to go look for something in her purse, And that woman's purse is like the bottomless pit. I can't find anything. It's common. But for some reason, Jay feels like Nyssa is lying to her on purpose. So when she goes into the room, she opens the drawer, and lo and behold, there are socks right there. Couldn't miss them. But somehow Nyssa did, which again, pretty common. And so Jay tells her, for lying to me, your punishment, you are going to have to get the belt. So she tells her, because it's your first time, you can keep your pants on. And she bends her over the bed and she hits her 3 times on her bottom. And after this, they have this weird interaction where Jay almost seems like this, like it's kind of like how a big sister would talk to you. She tells her, you don't want to sit down on your bottom for a little bit. It's going to hurt. It's like the pain will go away after a little bit. Something like it's almost like a little sister giving you advice about like hygiene or something. Really, really weird. So Nissa is put off by it, rightfully so. And she tells her mom. And again, Roxanne is not the best mom in the world, not by the slightest, not even close. But she takes offense at another woman disciplining her child. I don't necessarily think, and this is my own conclusion. This is my own theory. I don't necessarily think that Roxanne was upset that her daughter was in an abusive home. I think she was upset that another woman was disciplining her child instead of her, because you'll see later on she's very abusive to Nissa. So she tells her, I don't want to live in this house anymore. I would like to move back in with you. And so she's like, okay. Nissa's mom and her grandma get this lawyer, which she says his office is like super messy. Um, but they get this lawyer, and her mom adds these extra stories on top of of what they're telling the lawyer. For example, Nissa is telling her mom that Jay only hit her this one time on the bottom with the belt. But Roxanne is telling the lawyer, and she wants Nissa to tell the lawyer also, that she's hit her on the bottom multiple times. Anyway, the case goes through. Roxanne gets majority custody, and Nissa is visiting her father here and there. So we're going to move forward a little bit. After mom wins custody, a little bit afterwards, she meets Tom Suleski. He is working at a school called ITT. He teaches there, and that is where they meet. Tom came with 2 daughters from a previous marriage to a woman named Kim. He had 2 daughters named Dawn, who was 9 years old at the time, and Alexandria, who goes by the nickname Alex, who was 5 years old at the time. So this is when the abuse starts. Dawn, Nissa, Alex, Tom, and Roxanne are all living in this home together, and it's very clear in the early stages that Alex has a wedding problem. It's not said why in the book. Nissa didn't know why either. For some reason, she just had a really hard time controlling her bladder. Um, and so she would wet herself a lot. At the time, Roxanne was also in school. I can't exactly remember what she was studying, but she would have to leave school to go pick up Alex from daycare numerous times whenever she would wet herself. Eventually, these absences and having to leave in the middle of the day caused Roxanne to be kicked out of school. And the day she gets kicked out of school, it is hell. Nissa gets home from school. She walks into she walks into the apartment, and she sees, like, as you walk, like right as you walk in, she opens the door, and right before her is poor baby Alex standing in the corner, naked, facing the wall, with angry red marks on her back. Tom walks in, and he's also like, what the heck? And Roxanne is laying on the couch as if nothing is happening. Nissa says that this is her mom's way of sort of grounding herself. She'll lay on the couch, she'll take deep breaths, um, which I don't know, I don't even know. But that is what she does, I guess, to calm herself and sort of meditate while Alex is standing in the corner. And she's taking her frustration out on her. She says that she's going to teach Dawn and Nyssa how to cook because they're getting older now and it's something that they need to learn how to do. And while she is doing this, Alex is standing in the corner the entire night. They are done making dinner and Alex is still standing in the corner all night. She Roxanne prevents Alex and Tom from eating dinner that night. She tells Tom that he can't have dinner because Alex is his daughter and this is his problem that he needs to deal with and how he is not man enough. And Nissa goes to bed that night and Alex is still in the corner. And this is her go to punishment. Alex wets herself, she has an accident, and Roxanne puts her in the corner. Um, and she's there all night. So another instance that happens is it's like the same scenario. Alex has wet herself, she's in the corner, and she comes to sit at the table by herself to eat. Everybody has already eaten, and Alex is sitting at the table by herself to eat, and she feels nauseous and she begins to throw up and she throws up on the floor. And Roxanne comes out of the room and she grabs Alex by her neck and she shoves her head into the toilet and she yells at her, this is where you puke. Like if you're feeling nauseous and you're feeling an upset, this is where you go. And she's yelling at her and she's cussing at her and Nissa testifies to this later on in the trial. So those are just some situations that would happen. Roxanne would also complain that Tom was not being man enough, and that's why Alex was doing these things. There's another incident where again Alex wets herself, and Tom comes home and she's telling him she's laughing at you. And Nissa is in the room also. Alex is not laughing. If anything, she is scared. She is whimpering. She is cowering. But Roxanne is yelling at Tom. She's laughing at you. She doesn't think you're man enough. Look at her. She's laughing at you. She's laughing at you. And she yells at him and yells at him until he picks up Alex, 5 years old, picks her up over his head and drops her on the floor. And who knows what that has done to Alex. But he's now dropped this poor baby on the floor from however high he is. And that is just some of the abuse that Nissa talks about in the book. I'm sure there was probably more, um, but that is just like the instances that happen over and over and over again. And before anyone has anything to say, Nissa and Dawn are kids also. They are trying to also survive Roxanne's wrath. They are in no way, any way, responsible or whatever for Alex at all. All of this is on Roxanne. But you can tell in the book Nissa feels some sort of guilt because she doesn't understand why Alex can't, hold her bladder as well. And they do their best. They try to take her to the bathroom periodically on a schedule. They are great sisters, but they are also trying to survive an abuser. So we're moving a little bit forward. And like I said, these girls are trying to survive their mom. At some point, Jay and Benny get married, and they are now a full fledged family. And they are also pregnant. Afterwards, Roxanne and Tom also get married, and now they are a full fledged family, and the kids are with them full time. They took the kids from California, and the, Tom, for some reason, decided that he wanted to enlist in the army, and so they pick up and they pack and they move to Radcliffe, Kentucky. Um, Nissa talks about that in the book if you want more information about that move and why that happened. But That is pretty much a quick summary. They move to Radcliffe, Kentucky, and they move into a trailer park home because they can't live on the base quite yet. Uh, Tom has to re-enlist. It's a whole process, so they're living in this trailer park home for the meantime. And this is when we get to the events that led up to Alex's sad and just gruesome. I don't even know how someone conceives of hurting someone like that. Um, but October 25th, Nissa and Don are getting ready for school. And they're laying out their clothes and they're chit chatting. And Don asks her, "Are you gonna wear underwear with your clothes?" And it's a very innocent act because like Don had just shown her outfit and her outfit included her underwear. So Nissa's like, "Yeah, like yeah, I'm gonna wear underwear." Um, but it's just like a little thing they giggle about, and she goes over to her mom's room, and they giggle a little bit and they're chit chatting, and she acts as her mom for chonies, which is a Spanish slang term for underwear. She asks her mom for chonies, and they're talking, and Roxanne smells a foul scent in the air. And she walks over to the other side of the room by her dresser, and Nissa follows her gaze, and to her horror, she sees a trash bag in the room. And Roxanne opens the trash bag, and she looks inside, and she yells, "You filthy animal." She yells like, "Oh my god, you filthy animal." And inside this trash bag, like something that you go to the store, you buy, it's in your home as a necessity. She's put this 5-year old kid inside this trash bag. And she is yelling at her because she has again had an accident. And she's yelling at her. And she closes up the first bag. She takes a second trash bag and she rolls Alex into the second trash bag and then ties it shut. And she's walking out of the room as if nothing has happened. She leaves the room and she's like, "Okay, let's go finish figuring out your stuff for tomorrow." And Nissa is horrified. She's walking past the bag and she hears a guttural sound come from Alex that I can't imagine what it sounded like. Um, but she describes it as like this gasping sound. Um, and it's just really, really deep. Like it doesn't sound like it would come from a 5-year old. So she walks out of the room and once again, she is trying to survive. So she goes back to her room, she puts on her alarm, and she goes to bed. October 26th, Nissa and Don get up and they go to school. And Nissa has a pretty okay, the usual first day of school, introducing yourself to people, correcting them on your name, and all that. She makes a few friends and she gets home. She gets into the home and Roxanne can see it on her face. She's like, "Oh my god, you look like death. Like you look so exhausted and tired." And this is like, "Yeah, I had like a pretty like okay, but pretty rough day at school." And she tells her, "Okay, well, you get started on dinner, yada yada yada." So Nissa is in the kitchen of the trailer home and she's taking out stuff from the cupboard to get ready to make dinner. Um, and Roxanne comes, like, she describes it as thudding footsteps down the hall. She comes down the hall and she just yells at Nissa, "Alex is not breathing." And like slow mo, not Alex, Nissa pauses and she realizes there's no way. There's absolutely no way. Alex has been in that bag all night and all day while she has been at school. Which you have to consider Nissa is in middle school at this point. That's an 8 hour day. Like that is from morning to evening to like early afternoon. Um, when I was in middle school, we started at like 8 a.m. and we ended at like 3. So that is multiple hours and then all night. She has been in that not just one trash bag, but two. So Roxanne is yelling at her, I need your help. Nissa, you're gonna help me, right? You're gonna help me. Like, I need you to help me with this because we can't go to the authorities. I need you to help me with this. You're gonna help me, right? And she's just telling her, I love you so much. Manipulating this poor girl into covering for her. And this is so much to put on such a young kid's shoulder. Roxanne calls Tom. Tom comes rushing home and he's like, we need to call the paramedics. Maybe they can still save her. We need to call the paramedics. And Roxanne tells him, no, no, we can't call the authorities. Think about what they'll do. They'll take away the kids. They'll take away our baby. Because as I mentioned before, Roxanne is pregnant. She is heavily pregnant. And she's like, they'll take away the baby. They'll take away the kids. We'll lose everything. And she convinces Tom to not call the authorities. And so Tom is like, okay, what do we do? He goes outside and grabs a vacuum box. You know, like the boxes that vacuums come in. It's like pretty tall or sort of. And he brings it into the house. And Nessa is still in the kitchen. This poor girl is frozen and just watching all of this unfold, completely confused. She's watching Roxanne and Tom go into their bedroom, take Nissa out, move her into the bathroom. She hears the water running. They're washing her body. And then he comes in with the box. And then he leaves with the box, presumably with Alex's body in it, because she says he walks in and it was light. And when he leaves, it looks heavy. But he's not like struggling, but it looks heavier, significantly heavier. And Tom takes her to their local state park called Otter Creek, and he leaves her body there. This 5 year old girl was in two trash bags in her own waste, killed by her stepmother, and then her father helps her stepmother to cover up the injustice that's been done to her and leaves her in a state park. As a parent, no way. No damn way. Reading this point in the book, I was frozen with Nissa. I was like, oh my God, there's just no way. It's like you know the outcome. You know what's going to happen. You know this poor girl died this way and you know everything that's gonna happen. But it's still unfathomable that parents would do this to their own kid. And yet here we are. So Roxanne and Tom decide to come up with the story that Alex has ran away because apparently it's something that Alex used to do. A couple of times she would like leave the house and wander off. So they just decide to use somewhat of a believable story. They tell the authorities um, when they do come looking that Alex has just run away. And at first, the authorities believe that they're worried that Alex has wandered into one of the many sinkholes in the area. So they're very, very adamant about this search. They are looking everywhere. And the two main detectives on the case are Detective Gruber and Detective Kirby from the Radcliffe Police Department. And then later on, Agent Luzader from the FBI joins on, and everyone is empathetic. Searches are scheduled. Ladies from the community start a meal drive for the family for a couple of nights. Someone even gifted them a TV. It, this community cared for them. They were worried for them, and they they were doing their best to support this family during this time. Um, so when the detectives come, they come with search dogs and they ask Roxanne for some clothing that can lead the dogs on a trail for Alex. And to throw them off their scent, this woman shuffles, like she puts the clothes in a Ziploc bag with a blanket, and she shuffles her hand in there, and she makes Nyssa shuffle her hand in there to mix up the scent and throw the dogs off their tail. I can't even. Who comes up with that? I've never seen that before. I don't even know how she came up with that, but she did. It worked. And Tom is even on the news. Like they're watching it on their new TV that someone has gifted them. And Tom is on the news and he tells them, and I quote, please bring her back. Please bring her home. Or please call us and let us know that she's safe. If someone does have her, they're not using their head and they're tearing up a community. This is from Tom's own mouth. Tom, who just took Alex from their room, took her into the bathroom, washed her off, put her in a vacuum cleaner box, and took her to a state park, is on the news asking someone to bring their daughter back. These people are despicable. On November 1st, the search was called off according to their local paper. Tom was called in to take two polygraphs because there was just differences in the story. Nothing made sense to the authorities, and Roxanne lawyered up, and she believed that the trailer was bugged, so she would only talk to them in like about certain things, and she wouldn't allow them to talk about Alex or anything regarding that night whatsoever. Um, on November 26th, a candlelight vigil was held for Alex because that was her birthday. Um, so her birthday is coming up, and she would have been 42 years old. Um, and on November 28th, by some ironic twist of fate, Roxanne had her second daughter, Novi Krista, 2 days after Alex's birthday. And life continues. The family moves on to the base. They get a new house. Nyssa has a boyfriend named Rusty. Life is continuing on. On April 15th of the next year, Roxanne and Tom are arrested. Nyssa and Novi are placed in a foster home while they're waiting for their grandparents. And after bouncing around for a little bit, Nyssa and Novi settle with the grandparents, and Dawn is settled in with Nyssa's uncle, who who was in the LAPD, from what I remember. And the counts that they were charged with, especially Roxanne, was charged with count one, murder, count two, kidnapping, victim death, count three, tampering with physical evidence, count four, criminal abuse in the first degree, and count five, unlawful transaction with minor in the second degree. Nyssa's grandma puts her house up as collateral to get Roxanne out of jail, which she was ungrateful for, by the way. She was not happy that she was out of jail if Tom couldn't be with them either. I mean, the layers. And the court decided that if Roxanne was going to be in the home, Nyssa had to go and stay with her dad. Eventually, though, she came back because her dad had to go to rehab, and so did Jay. So, so she's back with the grandparents. And this is the point. This next situation we're going to talk about. This is the point where you see Nyssa shift in the book. She's had it with her mom's stuff. She's over it, and this is the point where you see like her demeanor shift, and she is ready to tell what actually happened. Nyssa is in a different room, and Tom and Roxanne begin arguing in the home. They are she doesn't know what they're arguing about, but she comes into the home and they're arguing. And Tom says something that just ticks Roxanne off. And she sets baby Nova down and she rushes at Tom and she is pummeling on him and she is beating on him. And Nyssa is holding Novi. After Roxanne has gotten all her pummels out, after Roxanne has gotten all her pummels out, she goes to take Novi back from Nyssa and she says, like, hand her to me. And Nyssa says no. For the first time in this entire book, Nyssa says no to her mom. And she's furious. Roxanne takes her and like she all she sees is a hand flying towards her. She's being pulled by her hair. She's taken into the garage and she wakes up a little bit after and Roxanne tells her, "Don't you ever step between me and another person in this house ever again." And this has had it. She comes up with the plan. She and Dawn start going to the library um, after she asks her mom, "Hey, can I sleep downstairs in the living room with Dawn?" Um, after she moves back into the house. And her mom's like, "Yeah, I mean, I guess so." So they start going to the library together and they start talking. And eventually one day they say they're going to the library, but they actually go to the mall. And Nissa tells Dawn, like, Alex didn't just run away. She didn't just disappear. Tom and Roxanne killed her. And Dawn is not shocked. I mean, she literally tells Nissa, like, yeah, I figured she didn't just disappear. Um, so they decide they are going to tell Nissa's grandma and Nissa's dad. Those are the two people they feel that they can trust. But when she goes and tells her grandma, she tells her, "Okay, let's just keep this between you and I. You know, blood is thicker than water. We keep this between us." And Nissa is disappointed because this is her grandma. I mean, like throughout the book, you see like she's this comfort person for Nissa, and it's not supposed to be like this. She expected that her grandma would do something, but she didn't. So when she tells her dad, after they reconnect, he is like, "Okay, I honestly didn't expect you to like tell me that um, so soon after they reconnected." But they decide but Jay's dad does something. Not Jay's dad. I'm so sorry. Nissa's dad does something about it. They call Agent Luzader and they decide that they are going to have Nissa wire record Tom. And in this wire recording, he confesses that Alex was taken to Otter Creek State Park, if I'm not mistaken. And when he went back, when he and Roxanne went back to Kentucky, they had found only Alex's skull. And at some point, he grinded it into a powder. It's just little particles here and there. That's what he says in the wiretap. And he's like, there's nothing left of her. So this poor girl didn't even get like a proper resting place. She was just left out there to the elements, and we're not exactly sure what happened to her. But he says that her body is completely destroyed. And with this, agents finally have something to build a better case with. But we're not out of the woods yet. Essentially, it is Nissa's word against Tom and Roxanne. So they take some time, they build their case, and finally they go to trial about a week long. Um, and the the trial was so gut wrenching. I mean, like Dawn and Nyssa did their best. They testified, and it was Nyssa's testimony that was the final nail in the coffin for Roxanne and Tom, and they were both thankfully sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 25 years, which honestly, now that I think about it, isn't enough. It is not enough. But if it gives you some solace, Roxanne waived her right to parole when she was eligible back in 2018, so she is going to serve out life in prison. Tom came up for parole also, and he was denied. Um, these people, absolutely horrific what happened to this girl. And there's not really a way around it. There's nothing to say what was going on mentally. There's no speculation. I tried to find what I could. I couldn't find anything. These people were just, they were just this. Tom tried to tell the parole board that he was a weak man and that he didn't have a backbone, and he just went along with whatever Roxanne says, which isn't necessarily untrue from what I read in Nyssa's book, but still, he's a grown man, so that type of defense holds up nothing. But Alex is survived by her sisters who carry on her story, who do such a great job. I mean, like, Nyssa's book is amazing, who did such a great job of getting that story out there and making sure that it wasn't just swept under the rug like Roxanne and Tom would have liked. And so I hope that this was something that we can all learn from. That you see something, you say something. And it's not anyone's fault but Roxanne and Tom's. And I really hope that wherever Alex is right now, that she is happy and she is playing and she is carefree. And hopefully her death was not one that lasted too long for her. We don't know, but that's just what I would like to hope for her. So I want to thank you guys for sitting with me today, and I hope that, like I said, we all learned something from this, and I will see you guys in a different episode, in a different video. And Nyssa, if you're watching this, you are a very, very, very brave woman. Your daughter Emma raved about you on the video that we all came here from. She says that you are an amazing mother. You've raised four beautiful children. And I hope that your life is everything that you wanted it to be. And I hope that you know that you turned out nothing like your mom, despite your fears. It is clear in your daughter Emma when I spoke to her. Very kind, very respectable young lady. You've done a great job. And so, you guys have a good night, and bye bye.